Hi friends, welcome back. So headline, the Fed gears up to show its hand, one cut, two, or none at all. So that's the subject of today's video. We're going to be going with the Fed may be up to and what's going on around the market. So thanks for coming back and always appreciate seeing you every day. Guys, Fed Chair Jerome Powell, I think he's speaking tomorrow and I don't think they're going to do anything. They're not going to raise, they're not going to cut. But I think the big story will probably be what the Q&A is going to be, right? And some of the questions will be, hey, what do you think about inflation? How's your target rate looking? What do you think about the data? And he'll answer in the most vague way possible. That's what he does. I think probably someone will have the gall to ask him, hey, we've heard from the minutes and even in public talk that some people, some members of the Fed have talked about the possibility of raising rates. What do you think about that? If someone asks that in the Q&A, I think that'll be a really interesting answer. So we'll see. And again, he'll try to be as vague as possible and say data dependent, etc. But the word in the street is higher for longer. We've been saying that for a while on this channel. I've never said, hey guys, we're gonna have 8 cuts or anything like that. I know that Mensch of Wall Street have been saying that kind of thing, but it turns out to be completely untrue. If we do a cut, the current rumor mill is maybe September, but more likely November or December. And if that were the case, it is going to be this late. Yes, maybe just one this year, but we'll see. My particular opinion on it is no cuts this year and don't take raises off the table. But I understand there's a lot of political pressure and otherwise. There's a really interesting article about, and I think this one? Fed's higher for yeah, it's this one. I want to make sure my article is correct, but just so you guys know what I'm talking about here, but basically the higher the rates are and for longer, many companies and people are. People like regular consumers are holding back on large purchases. And it was fascinating because it gave many examples. So, for example, if you're in the home market, right, housing market, and you're looking to buy a home, and you're like, oh my God, my mortgage rate's too high. I'm going to wait till it cools down a bit. Maybe prices will come down, and then I'll get in. Or if you're a small business, or they use the example of a hotel, which is an interesting one. Maybe you're not going to do that, major renovation on the roof or fix, needed repairs. You're kind of waiting for rates to go down. And it was interesting because I wanted to tie this into some other things we've been seeing in the headlines lately. This was back in February. Remember, Apple canceled its electric car. And you can look at this a couple different ways. So one is, are companies not, doing research and development or capital expenditures, or, not investing to make more money in the future? Because one, do they have to borrow the money to invest? So that's not, it's not really a great, bargain for them. If they don't think they're going to make profits on their investment for years to come, and two, is it that also they're worried about their consumers or their customers not having the money to buy said products, right? So this is part of your calculation as any company. And one of the things I like about our community, we have a lot of smart people and hardworking people working in all kinds of industries, and I want to hear from you. Where you work in your company, has your organization decided to not invest in big purchases this year, just waiting for rates to come down? Have you heard of these kind of things? I think it's interesting. And this also coincides with something like with the Tesla article. This came out back in March. Tesla scraps low-cost car plans amid fierce Chinese EV competition. And this was the one where Elon's like, oh, they're just a bunch of liars over there, but he didn't say how exactly they're liars, and liars referring to Reuters. And the basic report was that Tesla had like this idea of building a cheaper car, 25K car, and then the current rumor mill is now that, and they presented lots of emails and things like that. So it seemed pretty legit, which I'll get into, where Tesla fanboys and fangirls just think if it's anything negative and Elon calls it liar, then they just believe Elon and disregard all this other stuff. But I'm saying when Apple cancels their project, when you hear that many companies are canceling their expenditures or purchases. It's not like crazy to say, oh, okay, maybe Tesla's doing the same, and also we're getting reports of that. Moreover, which I think I want to point out as well, which I think is important with something like this, is you always want to think about, okay, when you make that investment, how much return is it going to, give me? Because ultimately, when we say we're tracking stocks in the market, you want to have, essentially companies growing their earnings or at least maintain steady level. You don't necessarily be in this environment, right? Want to be spending a whole bunch of money on products that maybe people won't even buy, or moreover, losing money on said products. So we'll just say something like a Lucid or something like that. I think they're losing a bunch of money on each car. I think even Rivian is at this point, because it costs so much money to ramp up into developing. You got to build your factories, you got to hire all these people, source materials, etc. It takes a while for your business to really get going to where you can streamline it enough to get margins at a reasonable rate. Point being, it's hard to grow in this environment, and it's hard to convince consumers to make big purchases. So that's sort of what we're going on. Moreover, this was actually a chart which is related to that. This is business equipment. So if you're in the sector selling, equipment to business, I'd love to hear from you guys if you agree with these sort of things to where capital expenditures may be seeing a bit of a decline. So this is sort of what you're seeing here, saying like, oh, they spend a bunch here, and then they, now we're just kind of waiting for rates to come down so they can start spending more. And we also have this also, which is the amount of debt in the USA. So that this is adding up mortgages and auto loans, right? So for those people who are on variable interest rates, this really hurts, obviously, right? Because not only are you in the hole, you're getting in the hole more. And I show you guys all this stuff because I want you to understand sort of what's going on in the market and what's on in the news, right? So I mentioned too also, say you're in commercial real estate, those people are sweating it out also. If you're, again, in some sort of variable rate thing and you're just like, oh my God, I'm underwater, please Fed cut the rates. The problem is that if you cut rates and make money more free, again, it helps demand. So for example, in this situation we're talking about, say with the business equipment thing, if no one has any money and no one can buy, just for example, then prices need to come down to convince people to make it a good value proposition for them to buy. If you make money more free, then right, demand goes up, and then prices can then also coincidentally go up. So that's what the balance is, right? Moreover, this is what makes doing YouTube hard. This is a comment got just an hour ago from Rob Love Green, and I can tell from his language I don't think he means any harm or anything. So I just appreciate commenting, Rob. Rob says here, Elon announced Tesla is coming out with a 25K car in 2025. There's going to be a massive switch to electric because of affordability. And he responded to a video where I was saying I think Elon Musk and Tesla is a fake revolution because my thesis is basically they're building a product that is a premium product, not meant for everyone. And so therefore it's not going to be this big change that everyone thinks it is. And so this is where this 25K car thing, and I asked him, when and where did he announce this? Because this refers to, remember guys, I read the article where Reuters was saying, hey, we got all these inside reports from Tesla that they're basically, shutting down the 25K program. Then this person, I just want to read what he says. He says, my first response disappeared for some reason. So my answer to that is that's part of Google's system. And also too, I have filters turned on for spam. If you go to other channels, you'll see a lot more spam content, comments, and they probably don't have their spam filters turned on. Moreover, there's another issue, and I, there's no way to know for sure, but I'm pretty sure, or let's just say it looks like other channels buy comments, and you can do that. That's part of YouTube. And so if you're a channel that buys comments, you purposely would not turn on your spam filtering. So then you're going to get the spam that you didn't buy, and then also the spam that you did buy. And so sometimes if your comment disappears, there's a couple of reasons. One is the system thinks your comment is spam. And it could be, maybe Rob's is. It's possible. Some people, like literally, in some videos, they'll spam the same comment like every video of that topic, and it actually is a real person per se, just a person who likes to say the same thing over and over everywhere. Well, that's spam. You guys can decide that. Or the other issue is too, sometimes there's a bit of lag in the system. So just the other day, it was kind of funny. There was someone's like, oh, why are you hating on me, etc. And it was funny because then the hating on me, etc., like the comment that person made, showed up 3 times on the video, and it's just funny. So who knows? Or sometimes it doesn't go through, and that happens with my comments too as well. It just doesn't show up at all. Who knows? Okay, so this person also says Elon announced it during the last earnings call, saying it was targeted towards the end of 2025. So he's talking about the 25K car. Later, he announced it would possibly moved up to the first half of the year. The mainstream media mistakenly or on purpose act of misinformation, that's according to Rob, reported that Tesla had scrapped the 25K car in favor of the robotaxi. In reality, Elon never said this. So I would actually agree. Elon never said, well, it's okay. Maybe he doesn't say that on Twitter or in the call, but we know from the reporting that looks like that's what the actions of Tesla are, is that they're not going forward to the 25K car. But anyway, the Robs also says apparently the robotaxi will be built on the same platform as 25K car, so they will be similar apparently. And I'll say we'll see what they announce on August 8th, which is what I'll see. And the problem is, and I was talking about the struggle with doing stuff on YouTube is I think a lot of the audience is like a Rob, is where they, whatever Elon says, they just believe it, or whatever scammy YouTuber says, because the scammer YouTuber's telling you things that you're going to be rich, and just believe in Lord Elon. I just try to tell you guys the truth, and I read through everything and show you everything I can. So this is my understanding of the situation, Rob, and sort of why we go through the news every day, is that even if, well, one is Elon's not really interested in the cheap car. We've seen that in the book. That was part of the discussion where his other employees or other heads of departments are like, hey, we should build a affordable car for everyone, and Elon's just not really interested in that kind of thing. That's in the book also too. Then we get the report from Reuters that it looks like the Tesla decided to cut the 25K car, and then steer toward more robotaxi. That was sort of the reporting. And then Elon just replied, they're just liars. And so it's like, okay, in what way? And then then what was interesting is that right after that report comes out, Elon then said, hey, we're going to have a big, announcement on August 8th. He didn't say what it was. We just know something's coming out on August 8th, and then that's what all the speculation out. So we'll see what it is. The problem is for Tesla, and if you understand, and this is sort of what goes back to just, you should watch my channel more and just have honest talk about this stuff, is that if Tesla were to go for the lower cost car, which I would agree, if they were successful in said thing, it would be revolution in the sense of that. They'll get more cars to more people if you consider, car revolutionary device. And even though we have lots of companies that already make cars, the problem is going to be though, if you're trying to compete on the lower end, right, under 25K car, you're going to be facing fierce competition from, Chinese manufacturers who can do this really cheap, right? And will most likely steal your R&D when you partner with Baidu and other companies in China. That's what Tesla's doing. You're also competing with, Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Ford, GM, Volkswagen, and on and on and on, right? Like the competition is really stiff. And so I think your margins are going to shrink considerably. And so I wouldn't necessarily, think that you're going to have massive success. But we'll see. We'll give it a go. But I don't pretend, like, when I read the news, that everything is lies. I just look through it. I like, for example, and I check it up on myself. So, for example, when I see a headline here that says "must to ban Apple devices if OpenAI is integrated in the iOS or OS." This comes from a series of tweets that Elon said. I'm not going to go through all of them. They're, he does crazy stuff all the time. But basically, he's this is my understanding of it, and this is more how I read it. Elon is doing another company called XAI. ChatGPT, OpenAI is a direct competition to him, same way that Apple's a direct competition to him. So of course he'll figure out any way to say bad things about his competition. That's sort of part of what Elon does. Whether or not there's privacy issues with this stuff, maybe. So he may have a point there. I don't disagree. I've mentioned this before with, say, the Microsoft integration of this, AI stuff, or Apple. Do I want to make my data of what I'm searching for at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning available to everyone right away? And, I'll leave that open to you. You know what you search for 2 a.m. in the morning. I know what I search for. And I don't necessarily want all those kind of results public. So, we search for all kinds of things. You guys get my point there. I find it funny, though, and ironic that, Mr. Musk would be like, oh, I'm going to ban privacy and stuff like that. Because if you don't care about privacy, because he runs a social media company and they make money off selling your data. So that's what it is. Yes, I see this. This is also an interesting thing. He made this announcement, and this is where this shows that Elon, when he makes this decisions, I understand the fanboys and fangirls think he's some great genius, but he makes decisions like from the hip. The same way he announced the August 8th thing in response to that Reuters article. I think now he's announcing on X they're going to hiding who likes your posts, and I think that's response to the Apple presentation that you just saw, like that kind of stuff. And another example was really funny. I saw something the other day, and one of the fanboys posted a video from the book, and it was like praising Elon, but it's just funny when you actually sit down and think about it. There was a story that it was Christmas Eve, right, day before Christmas, and Elon, I guess, called like 3 other engineers, and they were going to go to Sacramento or somewhere to shut down servers. And it was funny because I guess he just went in there with a pocket knife and cut one of the cables. But he did. And what I find so funny about that story is the person posting is like, oh yes, Elon's so great. It shows how awesome he is, and he can do things with himself with the pocket knife if he has to. But for me, I read that same story and I'm just like, dude, it's Christmas Eve. You're calling up 3 people to come into work to drive up to some Sacramento for you to pull out your pocket knife and cut a cable. I mean, just wait till after the New Year. Wait a week, right? It's like, so you can read things how you like, but I don't dispute, say for example, the facts, and that's sort of what I talk with you about. What's hard when you do YouTube is some people just like dispute facts, and it seems strange to me. So for example, whatever they announce on August 8th, I'll say, hey guys, this is what Tesla's announced on August 8th. What do you think about it? I won't say, oh, look at August 8th. It didn't happen. There's nothing happening on August 8th. There was no announcement. I mean, it would be weird. And so that's why it makes it hard to do YouTube, because I feel like some people live in some weird fantasy world. So hopefully, if you just want to talk about what's really happening and have shared opinions on that, I'm happy with that. But don't make stuff up. There's a real problem in society lately we have with people just making stuff up, and I'll show you one of the reasons why. I actually haven't. I've said this before. I'll show you again. I actually have an account on Twitter just to check on whatever stupid stuff Elon's saying. But I can tell you, I have 0 verified followers. I've not tweeted out a single thing. It's just a dummy account. Yet, no matter even though I don't do anything on Twitter other than just read stupid Elon stuff, I am followed by like all these fake hot girls. Like it's all bots. Every single one of my followers is bots, and so this is where you become a problem to where sometimes in comments you don't know if someone's real or not, and also too you have a collection of people who don't realize that much of what you see is not real. So that's it makes doing YouTube and this stuff really hard. That's why I always bring up this topic. For example, this is example. I know it's a long conversation, but this is example of a news where like, okay, is it happening or not? This is at least what the rumor mill is saying. So it says here, U.S. weighs more limits on China's access to chips needed for AI. And this would be the kind of thing where if you understand how the news process works, right? Someone from inside, the White House or whatever, leaked it out to, this would be Bloomberg. And chances are when you see something like this, it's like, okay, I could see them doing this. Is it officially announced that U.S. is going to do more restrictions on the chips? No, not yet, but you can see that chances are they are talking about it, and I would believe that. Okay, and so that's what I say. I say, guys, it looks like the rumor mill is like, it looks like they're thinking about it. And I'll give you an example. A month ago, we were getting reports. I told you, it looks like the rumor mill is they're going to raise tariffs on Chinese EVs, and that's exactly what they did, right? So I don't know. I just find it frustrating because there's people out there that just like if they don't like the news, they just close their eyes. But I don't really do that. I just show you what it is. But yeah, so this is actually important news if you're into NVIDIA or any of the chip making stocks. From NVIDIA's perspective, use an example of NVIDIA, they want to sell chips to China, right? They want to sell chips to anyone that they possibly can, and so this certainly hurts the industry in the sense that they have a less market to sell it to. My understanding, though, I've seen other articles reporting that some of these chip companies, I want to say in videos that mentioned it there, to where those chips are finding their ways into Chinese market and Chinese companies and military, etc. Just through other ways. So NVIDIA may sell it to one company in one country, and then that country will sell it to back to China or whatever. So it's hard to control this stuff exactly. And this is something that was ever shown in documents or evidence, stuff like that companies are doing things to get around the sanctions. It doesn't look so good for them. And also too, I told you guys before, NVIDIA is under investigation for monopoly, so we'll get into that. In terms of what's going on in the market today, Apple was saving the market. They're up 7%, which is kind of nuts. Their AI announcement thing was announced yesterday. The stock went down 2%. So this crazy rebound, I did not expect this at all. I did not. So I'll just say, I was like, what the heck? That really surprised me. And I wonder if now, I guess we're all selling NVIDIA going to Apple, but it seems strange. Yeah, this whole thing was really strange to me. Because if you look at the rest of the market, it was down today because we're worried about what the Fed's going to say tomorrow, right? So this was what's going on in the markets. NASDAQ, S&P was up a little bit, but this is the QQQ and the SPY. So QQQ is the NASDAQ 100. It's not necessarily the NASDAQ as a whole. And then everything else was in the red. If you take a look at the sectors, right, tech and comm was up a little bit, and then everything else was in the red. The other big story, I'm sure you guys know this in the news, I'm going to mention it. Hunter Biden was guilty on the gun stuff. And I say it before and I say it again, no problem. Hey, it's fine. I'm going to tell you about it. No problem. If you know, he's done some sort of crime or whatever, make him do the time, make him pay whatever fines. I think probably he's not going to go to prison or whatever. I don't think so. I don't think it's that big of an infraction, but you know, whatever they decide, let them do it. What I think is a good thing though is that I don't think the president is, that'd be Biden, is going to pardon his son. I don't think that's going to happen. There was some talk, oh, maybe he'll pardon him. I don't think so, and that's a good thing. Just let the law do what they're going to do. It's weird. We live in a world where, like, you know, some people think, oh, well, Trump was convicted, so, but I like Trump and therefore he's innocent, but everyone else on the other party is all guilty. I feel like if you want to be, you know, ruled by the rule of law, let people go through the legal process, and whatever happens, and you know, it turns out we have a guilty person on this side and a guilty person on that side. The one big difference, though, which is just fact, this person was an elected official, president of the United States. This person was not an elected official, but is a son, but not an elected official. So son of the United States, but not son of the president of the United States, but not an elected official. So that's an obvious difference to me. But for some people, I don't know, they don't get that. I live in Korea. You guys may or may not know this. Our president actually was put in prison. After 5 years, they got released and pardoned, but they were put in prison. It was corruption, and I was actually here to see all this craziness. In fact, my boss went to prison. If you guys don't know this, I used to teach at Hongdae, which is the top design school here, and I teach graduate classes, and so then many of my students were you know, older students and work in industry, film and TV, etc. And my boss went up really high. He actually left. Actually, it would be this after a semester I was there. He left. He got a job in essentially the cultural ministry, and he was actually part of this. They made a blacklisting artists. And back then, when I was writing scripts and we were talking film deals all the time, I was warned very heavily by several producers that there's certain things we can make and certain things we can't make, and evidently, you know, because that was going through the grapevine, is that this list was real, and evidently it was. So I don't believe my name is on the list. I'm a foreigner, so I don't think the rules apply. But yeah, you were highly discouraged from making certain kinds of scripts, or certain kinds of, you know, broadcasts or whatever. And if you believe in freedom of speech and this kind of thing, this is, you know, terrible. So I have no love for President Park. I don't like it. There's a bunch of bad stuff that they did. So no one is above the law. You know, there's the handcuffs. You can go to prison. There's massive protests and things. They're all peaceful, which is really different than USA. US Americans like to burn things and shoot people, and that's what the Americans do. I'm not making this random stuff up. They, you know, are violent. You know, in Korea, I'm telling you, there's a massive protest. They were really peaceful, and she was removed. The thing is, though, the difference here, which is really interesting, is in USA, you'll have all these people say, oh, you know, I just don't believe the news. I don't believe anything. It's all fake. In Korea, people who defend Park, because there are people who still defend this person. I think they're morons, my personal opinion. But this is the defense that they usually hear, or you usually hear if you talk to someone who defends it. They'll say, oh, she's a good person. She was just tricked. She just got with the wrong people. It's like the worst defense ever. So basically, you're just saying this person has bad judgment in who they surround themselves with, and this person has bad character, and this person's too stupid to know right from wrong, right? It's basically what their defense. She's too dumb defense. And I don't speak Korean well enough to know, but according to my Korean friends who people I trust their opinion, they would always say like she's just like dumb, like when she speaks, like she just sounds really really dumb, or what I have seen it for myself though, and we've had American presidents do this stuff as well, and Reagan was the one who would do it the most, or there'd be other ones. You can let me know how many presidents do this, but basically, if she would ever ask a question, she just act like she couldn't hear it. What's that? Or just pretend like she didn't hear it. So that's always a good defense, right? It's just pretend like. Now I guess all presidents pretend like they can't hear things, because like you just don't want to answer a certain kind of question, but the problem was like in her situation, because she was such a crook, like that was the only question anyone would ask, like what's your association with the cult, and there was a cult involved. It's a whole other story. Anyway, if you want to hear more about Korea, this kind of stuff, you can find our vlog channel. There's links down below, but it's fun to talk about these things from time to time. Anyway, that's what's going on in the markets today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any one of these things. And again, the topic is the Fed is probably not going to cut. What are they going to say? And how does it affect the capital expenditures where you work? So thanks again for watching, everyone, and catch you all next video.